If you ask me, Planet of the Apes movies have always been traditionally pretty good, right? Or at least well received.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
So moving on from Caesar shouldn't really be a big deal, right? No! Well, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is the start of a new generation. Now, this movie takes place around 300 years or so after the War for the Planet of the Apes.
Damn! I'm sorry.
And you know, Caesar might be gone, but expectations were still pretty high going into this new trilogy. And yes, I said trilogy. They're making another one.
Yeah! Yeah!
Now, if you haven't seen the most recent trilogy, aka Caesar's era, don't worry, they do a good job of catching you up to speed.
Oh, thank God.
One thing you notice right away is the world. After the fall of humanity, the world as we know it is forever changed. Mother Nature has completely taken over cities and even skyscrapers.
Oh my God! Wow!
Now, I'm not really sure what I really expected to see in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but the world they created was breathtaking.
Be careful not to choke on your aspirations, director.
Now that we got the pleasantries out the way, let's get into this actual movie.
Finally!
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes follows Noah, a clever ape from the Eagle tribe. And up until this moment, the most important thing in his life was basically to do the Egg Baby project.
We did it, Patrick! We saved Roger's life!
Now, I know what you're thinking. Not the most riveting backstory, right?
You said it, not me.
But you gotta trust the process. After the introduction to this world, things take a crazy turn.
I hope so.
Noah's village is attacked and everybody's basically taken prisoner, except Noah.
Oh no!
So as far as Noah's character growth, it's more of a slow build. And you know, as he goes out and he experiences more things outside of his, you know, home village, you get to start to see his character really shine.
It's about damn time.
My only real issue with Noah is that they basically try to pass him off as some kind of genius.
Brain blast!
But if I'm keeping the buck, I don't really buy it.
How can you even think that? Are you feverish?
Don't get me wrong, Noah is definitely smarter than your average bear, or ape in this case. And at the end of the day, this is still the introduction. This is still the first movie, so Noah's really just getting started. And I'm happy to say that he did display some traits you would want to see in your next MC or, you know, main protagonist. So in short, he might not be Caesar, but he'll do for now.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.
Speaking of Caesar, his legacy and his words are still alive and kicking amongst the apes. Now, all things considered, some more than others.
Say his words.
I just think it's cool that, you know, the idea of Caesar still lives on, even though it might not be from, you know, one of his direct descendants.
Oh no!
That's another topic for another day. It's just the fact that they, you know, still recognize it as almost, you know, somewhat of a way of life, or even in the worst case scenarios where they kind of, you know, basically abuse it to just kind of serve their own interests. Regardless of whatever way you spin it, it's still pretty interesting to me.
Comedy is subjective, Murray.
Enter Proximus Caeser, the big bad of this movie, and the leader of this so-called kingdom.
What a wonderful day!
If you ask me, Proximus Caeser is the most complete character in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And one of the things I like about him is that, you know, he's alpha, bro. Like, he might not have been the biggest or the strongest, but he had ambition. And as far as matchup to matchup goes, I think that was a good call for, you know, how things were going to clash in this film.
You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
Because what makes Planet of the Apes special is not just, you know, the fighting and the explosions and everything like that. It's really just seeing the intellect and seeing a battle of philosophy and just intelligence and instincts all on the main stage. Those are the types of things that I want to see more so in the future. And I think Proximus is a good start to that. Now, as far as his character goes, I think the most interesting thing about him is more so his interest in history.
Nerd!
Wait, what?
I'm not going to sit here and say that he's out here studying battle tactics or anything like that. I think he was more or less entertained by the stories and the legends of the Roman Empire more so than, you know, Caesar himself. Hence him, you know, adopting the name almost, you know, 300 years later.
Now I get it.
Because when you look at, you know, their ideologies, Proximus Caeser only really sought power. The power to not only control the apes among him, but also the power to wipe out the rest of humanity.
Chief, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
I can't fake, man. Like, Proximus is not that crazy of an enforcer. You know what I'm saying? He's no Cuba.
Ape. Lock, kill. Ape.
But he has a certain charm to him, and I think he was very entertaining, and I can appreciate him having the vision of what he can, you know, want his kingdom to be. Not to say I agree with it, but I'm always here for a good monologue, you know what I'm saying? So outside of that, I don't really have any complaints about his character specifically. I kind of just wish his kingdom was more of a kingdom, not them just kind of squatting on a rundown, left behind battleship.
Haters gonna hate.
Cause I can't lie, bro. Like, I would have thought after 300 or so years, they would have been a little bit more advanced than they currently are. I mean, this is Kingdom of the Planet, the Apes, and I'm still trying to figure out where the kingdom at, bro.
Coincidence? I think not!
But for the sake of argument, let's take, you know, technology out of the conversation. And we look at, you know, the Eagle tribe and how they were basically thriving in peace, but, you know, handle their business and playing with their falcons and things like that. Everyone can speak English, which still trips me out to this day.
To this day! To this day!
On top of the little ape noises that they make here and there, on top of the sign language that they use as well. I'll never get tired of that. Outside of those common things that we've already seen multiple times in Planet of the Apes, I'm still not really seeing no real true innovation. And my main complaint is, you know, they still can't read. Like, you're smart enough to talk, but you still couldn't figure out reading. That just seemed a little backwards to me. A little bit. You know, it's been a good minute. And yes, they became good hunters and gatherers, and you gotta pay some respects to that. But while I was watching, it just got me to thinking, you know, like, what really makes us human? You know, like, what really separates us from the animals?
That's a good question. I don't know.
And one of the big things that come to mind is just, you know, having an imagination.
Imagination.
Now, I know that doesn't really translate to the actual movie because it's really just about Noah trying to save his family. And at the end of the day, everybody still is just survival mode. So I guess you could say there's not a lot of room to dream. But the fact that they still can't, you know, pass information down through books or just, you know, because they still can't read, it explains why, you know, a lot of Caesar's principles almost got lost to time or, you know, misconstrued.
Are we thankful for the words of Caesar? We are thankful. Do we bend our heads? We bend.
I mean, don't get me wrong, bro. This movie is still dope, but it's just like they're still relying heavily on instinct and heavily on tradition. And, you know, maybe 300 years is not enough. You know what I'm saying? I'm not Dr. Stone. Now, does that make Kingdom of the Planet Apes a bad movie?
Of course. Really? No.
It's just the fact that, like, advancement comes down to curiosity and ambition. And, you know, those are qualities that you can see a little bit here and there in Noah throughout the movie, but it's still too early to really tell, like, who he really gonna be. I mean, when we look at his resume, I think he's doing pretty good so far, if I do say so myself. Like,
put some respect on my name.
I mean, not only did he do most of the heavy lifting when it came to taking down this empire, but this man was literally basically speaking to birds. So there's a level of plot armor that, you know, you just gotta kind of accept. But as an MC, I think Noah has some major potential in future movies. Now, speaking of future movies, the dynamic between Noah and the character I haven't mentioned up until this point, Nova, aka May, a human, could end up being legendary.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Well, based on what we've seen in this movie, they both have the will to survive and the desire to protect their people. Narratives can definitely start shifting in the coming future if, you know, they decide to team up again. Now, don't get it twisted. I don't think Noah is naive enough to just think apes can all of a sudden trust humans just off the strength of one person.
Oh.
But the idea of apes and humans coexisting is still out there floating around in the atmosphere. Now, is it practical? No, but I'm an optimistic guy, bro. Like, who knows where this story is going to go?
It's only my 3rd day out here. I don't know.
Now, as far as the human race goes, I'm excited to see what they come up with in the next movie. Just because they weren't really a huge staple in this movie, which I'm happy about. Granted, like, you know, one of the main characters is human, but at the end of the day, this still is Noah's story. Now, overall, when I'm looking at Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, bro, I really think that this is a solid movie. The action scenes were pretty good. Cinematically, visually, this joint was fire. And more importantly, they connect the first trilogy perfectly. Because if you ask me, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is really just about world building. They're setting the scene for this new era of apes and humans alike, which is why I'm really hyped for the future. You know, this movie is, you know, pretty good. Is it great? Not quite yet, but I believe that it could definitely get there, which is why I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 G-File score. But outside of that, that's all I really got for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, man. If you enjoyed this review, here's another one we think you might enjoy. And before you go, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next Friday. Peace.